processing of the economic data sets is a little more complicated. You will recall that when we downloaded the economic data, we downloaded 3 files for every year. We downloaded 2 comma-separated files and 1 text file. The larger of the 2 comma-separated files contained the actual data and will therefore refer to it as the data file, whereas the second one contained explanations for the various column headers and will therefore refer to it as the meta data file. Now, if you look at the data file again, you see that there are essentially 2 issues that we need to address before we can use it in our data source. The first one is that the second row doesn't contain values that we want to use in our analysis. It is almost like it's the second header row. The second problem, of course, is that the column headers are not particularly meaningful. The problem with the second line not containing usable values can be solved by filtering, and the problem of the non-meaningful column headers can be solved by inspecting the metadata file. The data source that we're building should contain information about unemployment levels, median family income, mean family income, per capita income, the percentage of population with health insurance, the percentage of families below the poverty line, and the percentage of people below the poverty line. And if you look at the metadata file, you'll see that, well, DP03-009PE contains information about the unemployment rate, 86E gives us information about median family income, 87E mean family income, 88E per capita income, 96PE the percentage with health insurance, 119PE the percentage of all families below the poverty line, and 128PE the all people below the poverty line. So I opened up Tableau Prep Builder and I'll make a connection to the 2018 data. So eventually it shows up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a clean step to filter geographic area out. So you see the geographic area is seen as one of the names, one of the states. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter on selected values. I'm going to select geographic area name, and then rather than keeping it as we did before, I'm going to exclude it. And you see that it now has disappeared as a valid state name. So that's good. Now the second step we have to do is we need to get rid of all of these columns. So I added a second, I'm going to add a second clean step. And then I'm going to change to the list view here. Now, what that gives me is a name of all of the columns, the column headers in my data file. I can click on the 3 dots and then select remove to get rid of the ones I don't want. Or I can simply mouse over them and then click the X. And I'm going to do this for all of the columns until I get to the first one we want to keep, which is 9PE. You will agree that this is pretty tedious, but as far as I can tell, this is the only option we have. As far as I can tell, Tableau Prep Builder does not allow me to remove all columns within a selected range, for example. So let me go and get everything done until I get to 9PE. Okay, so now I have the first column I want to keep, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and then rename it to unemployment rate. Okay, if I now go back to the profile view, you'll see that I have name, which is at the state, and the unemployment rate. The second thing I want to do now is just to show you that these flows can actually be useful, is I'm going to draw a box around the two clean steps that we've just created. You see the appearance of the screen change. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save these steps as a flow. And I want to store it in the same file as in the same folder as I have my data files in. And I'm going to call it econ flow. Now, for some reason, Tableau keeps insisting that I save it under a different name, but if I keep cancelling here, then eventually it will give up and allow me to save it as the econ flow. To show the utility of these flows, I'm now going to connect to the 2017 data. Oops. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is insert and then browse to the flow that I just created. All right, again you see the appearance change. Now, if I now click on the second clean step in the second line, so clean 2, then you'll see I'm using exactly those two clean steps that I used on 2018, the 2018 data file on the 2017 data file. So saving flows is useful if it's an effective way of processing one particular file and you have to process a lot of files that are very similar to it. But clearly that's not a good option for us because you know, we have about 540 columns we would have to we would have to delete manually, and that's simply not a good way of doing it. Now, fortunately, there's a way around this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of Tableau Prep Builder, then start it up again, connect again to the 2018 data, and now what I'm going to do is, rather than first filter on the geographic area, I'm first going to delete all of the columns I don't want. In fact, I'm going to delete all of them and then go back to the ones I want. And the ones I want are 9PE, 86E, am I there yet? 86E, 87E, 88E, 96PE, 96PE, 119PE, and 128PE. Okay, I will now add a clean step to again filter out geographical area. And maybe go back to the list view here to give the remaining columns meaningful names, right? So list view, the first one is unemployment rate. The second one was, let me just make sure I get this right. I think it's median family income, right? Yeah, median family income. The next one is mean family income. Then we have per capita income. Then we have percentage of population with health insurance. Oops, didn't want to do that, so I go to changes, right? I didn't want to remove that field, so I click the X here, that field comes back. I rename that field to percentage families below poverty level. And finally, this one is going to be renamed percentage individuals below poverty level. Okay. Right, can now go back to the profile view, and I'll see that, let me get rid of this, and you see that we now have meaningful names on all of these columns. I can now add an output step, and what I'm going to do is I want to save it as a .csv file, and I'm going to save it as 2018 data in the same folder where I had the original data as well. And again, it's going to keep insisting that I use output, and again, eventually it will let me do what I want to do. All right, so if I now look at, I go back to the, it has now added, or I have to run the flow, right? We run the flow, done. And then you see it has now added the 2018 data to that same folder. Okay, and it now looks more or less like how I want it to look. The problem is that I also want to do this to the 2017 data and the 2016 data and so on. But if I just pick up these two steps, then that doesn't include the deletion of all of the various columns that we did when we first looked at this one, at the 2018 data. So the way to do that is to click on this, and you see that you can edit the connection to the data file. So if I edit this, and I now go to the 2017 data, and I obviously need to change the output file as well, so that now becomes 2017 data. And I accept this, and I accept this, cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. All right, and I run that flow now. And I go back to, you see that I now have both the 2017 data and the 2018 data in the way that I want it. So this is the 2017 data, and this is the 2018 data. Okay, so it's a bit of a trick a bit of a kludge maybe, but it's one way of getting around the fact that you can't delete sets of columns when you are in a clean step in PrepBuilder.